5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. All right. Carlos, do you like our music? You didn't hear it the last time.
I didn't, but wow, that was pretty majestic. I feel kind of important just being here.
I know, right?
Just don't let it get to your head. It's not your own personal fanfare.
It's the music that plays when I go to the restroom.
It's like because it's an event. It is fanfare when that happens.
It's an event. Yes.
Yeah, it's just somebody did a mix, and I got their permission to use it, by the way. But somebody did a mix of the Justice League Unlimited cartoon, and they did like a dance mix up of it. So it's not quite the original tune, but it's made to be like a kind of a jam of it. So I thought, hey, it works. So anyways, how's everybody doing? I want to introduce, for those that haven't met him, because me and Will did the 50th anniversary.
Will and I?
Sorry, you're right. Will and I did a episode with just him. Will and I did a episode where Carlos and Adam Isle joined us and Sunsail for a Star Trek 50th anniversary special. And Carlos Pedraza is the man behind Axamonitor. He's also a producer, a script supervisor on a few of the well-known Star Trek fan productions, which includes my favorite, Star Trek Hidden Frontiers. And he's also been keeping a good, tight eye on what's going on with Axanar. And how are you doing, Carlos?
I'm doing great. Happy to join you guys today.
Yeah, and I understand you also watch the CW shows that we're going to be talking about.
I think all of them but Arrow.
Well, that's fine, because Will's probably the only one that keeps up with that one.
I like Arrow. I just got really behind about halfway through the second season, and it's such a serialized show, it's hard to keep up, so I'm going to have to catch up on Netflix.
Yeah. So, I mean, so Arrow's one of those shows that, like, they were the first CW show, so I think they suffer from that, and everybody that came afterward benefited from that, so it's kind of like they're the dark child of the whole thing. So... anyways,
actually, it's pretty good this year.
Yeah, it has been pretty good this year. See, I'm just glad that nobody gave up on it because I almost did. So,
I never did.
Yeah, I know you're like a diehard fan, which is good. Somebody has to be, right?
Well, I finally caught up on DC Legends. I finished those 16 for the first season, so I finished.
All right, so you want to start with Legends of Tomorrow? You did just finish the Netflix. Finally, put it on their thing, and you watched the whole first season.
Yep.
And you have also been keeping up with the second season because you talked about that last week. Okay, well, I'm going to start with you because I'm curious. Your overview of having seen Legends in its entirety in season 1, what do you think?
Well, the first time I saw a couple episodes, I didn't really like it. I'm like, it's kind of cheesy. I mean, this guy shows up, in our world, you're not just heroes, you're legends. It was very... almost Saturday morning cartoonish thing. I was like, okay, I can't get into that because I was watching Arrow. It was a little more gritty, but when they had it on the Netflix, you can just watch one after the other. And the first 3 or 4 episodes, I was watch one and then I'd get away from it. Once I got into like 4 or 5 or 6, they started having those ending things where something happened and you had to, just like you see with Daredevil. Something happens and I got to watch the next one. So it got better, especially when they were dealing with the history. It's still a little cheesy stuff. There was a few things that I don't like their fight sequences, and it's just. But for the story, it was all right. It was an interesting story, and I like the way they finally dealt with Savage at the end. It was very interesting the way that they did that. But like I say, for me, it's probably the last one as far as being I gotta watch it because it's still. I mean, there's a lot of people on that show, and it's very comic book like. I mean, well, not comic book like, but comedic, if you will. Because I mean, I'll give you an example.
It's a fun show.
It is. It's a fun show. But they have this fight sequence where Savage is on the Wave Rider and he escapes and he knocks out everybody and he's fighting the Hawk Girl and Hawkman. They finally brought him back. Anyway, she's punching at him, and all of a sudden she takes a punch. She falls to the ground. So Hawkman jumps in there. He starts whacking on him. And then all of a sudden, she's looking. She's like, she's just struggling, trying to get up. Hawkman gets stabbed. She looks over, and then all of a sudden, she's back up, and then she's hitting him again. I'm like, you could have done that 5 seconds ago and stopped him from getting stabbed. Why are you lying on the ground, moaning, and then, as soon as he gets stabbed, you're up and swinging again?
Don't get me started on Hawkman and Hawkwoman.
Right.
In this
I just didn't like the... Anyway, they're so lame. They're so. Well, yeah.
I mean, I like the characters, but they go down in a fight so quickly.
I didn't understand any of them. Yeah, I know why they had to have them on the show because they're the ones who. But they didn't. They didn't end up killing them at all. The way they kill Savage is, he had these 3 rocks, these 3 meteorites in different time areas where he blew them up at exactly, and so they went back into these 3 times, and they just once he did that, he had this radiation, and they could kill him. They didn't need Hawkman and Hawkgirl there. I mean, so I didn't like those 2 characters. I'm glad they're not on the show anymore. The best characters on that show were actually the bad guys.
Yeah. Sorry, I had the team speak glitch. Is that good now?
Yeah. The bad guys. The Rory, the what is he called? Pyro and Captain Freeze. Those were the best.
Hang on, am I still open, Mike?
Yes, you're still open.
All right, hang on. I might have to exit and come back into TeamSpeak. Hang on. You guys keep talking.
Well, no, don't exit because then you get off recording.
I know. I have to. Ross is recording though.
But for me, those were the interesting characters. I don't know about not Rory, but Captain Cold. He's kind of lame. I'm kind of glad that he's not there anymore. He sacrificed himself at the end. But I liked Pyro. He's funny. He's the best character on that show right now.
Yeah, he started off kind of lame, but got better as the season progressed. For
He's
sure.
got those one-liners. He's got those one-liners. Like there was one I saw when I was just watching this one, and the second half of that Fireball guy, that Fireball team, right? The black guy, I forget his name. Richard.
Firestorm.
Firestorm. Anyway, he's getting old. He went into the engine room, and the time thing started to ages. So he's sitting on there. He's getting older and older. He's sitting on the table, and the Rory, I think his name is the Pyro. Says, "Hey, Pop, shut up." He's got these one-liners that are just funny things in there. I kind of like him on the show. I don't like Adam. I like Brandon Routh as Superman when he did the movie, but I don't like this guy. He's whiny. He's just
I like the bald-headed guy, the criminal dude.
That's Rory who he's talking
about.
That's
Rory. That's Captain Cold. Yeah.
Okay, that's my favorite guy.
He's dead now, though. Well,
Captain Cold is dead. Captain
Cold is dead. He sacrificed himself at the end of the first season.
Oh no, I'm talking about the bald-headed dude on the show now.
Oh yeah, that's okay. That's Rory. That's Pyro then. That's Pyro. Yeah. That's the guy with the fire gun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's fun. Yeah, that's my favorite too. He's my favorite character because he's funny. He's raspy. I mean, he's just
right.
He's like, he's just going around. He's just a muscle.
Right. It's like someone says, "Oh, you're a hero," and he's like, "No, I'm a criminal."
No, I'm a criminal.
Right. Yeah.
I like to blow things up. I mean, he's just got that.
Yeah.
Like all the other characters on there are whiny. I mean,
right? They are. Yeah, and it's like last week's episode where they went to Japan, and he's like, "Ninjas exist. Come on, ninjas exist." And then he pops out in a ninja suit, right?
Ninjas exist. I'm gonna prove it. And then he comes in, he pops out, and he's got a ninja suit.
Yeah.
Told you ninjas exist. I love it. But the other one is the woman with the assassin. She's all right. I don't like. Firestorm's all right when they're flying around, but during the first season, their interactions were a lot whiny and complaining and controlling and mentoring. I mean, it was just ugh. And then they had that whole love affair between Hawk Girl and Atom, and I was like, okay. But it was interesting the way that they progressed that. And I'm glad there's only 16 episodes. I wouldn't have watched it if it was 24. I was like, 16 is not too bad for the first season. Hopefully, now that they got rid of the Hawks and the British guy's not there anymore for right now. I didn't like him either. He was an annoying little git.
You mean Rip Hunter?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like, I don't know. To me, it was like, okay, he's this. He wasn't a. I don't know. He had this British accent, but he's trying to do a cowboy image, and I'm like, those don't mesh. Those don't go together.
Yeah, there's no cowboys in the Wild West of the UK.
But anyway, it looks like we're not getting George back for a while.
Yeah, so George is gone. But
so, anyway. Carlos, what did you think of? Have you been watching these new seasons? I mean, this new season.
I've only seen the first episode of the new season because I got behind on at the end of last season. So over the weekend, I caught up to.
Okay, I'll give you an example. I watched the first episode of this season. And I have a problem with it. Well, I have a lot of problems with it. First of all, the history guy goes to Star City or Central City and meets with Oliver Queen, right? The mayor. The mayor I'll just drop everything. He finds a sub. He locates this ship underneath the Atlantic Ocean
right
off the bat, straight away. Yeah. How does he do that? I mean, it took him 50 years to find the Titanic, for crying out loud. So,
right. I mean, 1,000 years later, and they're still trying to find Atlantis, but they can find this little tiny ship.
So they find it straight away, and then he goes through their whole rigmarole. It's okay when they were going back in time, picking things up. I don't have a problem with that. Rory survived, but I was like, okay, well, I know you're trying to move the story along, but you just jumped up a whole bunch. You just overshot. I mean, how did he get the sub? Where did he get the sub? How did he find it? I mean, you didn't know where it was because this is 1940. You didn't have radar. You didn't have sonar. And it just fell into the ocean. And then it got attacked by a Russian sub. So, but...
they did have sonar, but it was more primitive.
Well, yeah, but it was... That's just lazy storytelling for me. That's what this TV show has done through some of the season 1, and hopefully won't be doing in season 2. I like this that last episode. Carlos, you didn't see it. Had a bunch of. They went to Japan, like Anthony said, and they were in feudal Japan. So they were dealing with samurai and ninjas. It was good because you had a lot of sword play, and other than that, but it was all right. So I'm hopeful for this particular season. I'll stick with it for a little bit because. I didn't last year.
I liked the end of season 1 because they were moving towards like a real resolution of the whole Time Masters thing and Vandal Savage and all of that, and I thought that was great. But in the middle of their run, it just seemed really by the numbers, and I kind of that's why I got behind because it was like I really want to like this show because I like Firestorm. I like Atom. I like I like the Hawks. I liked all of them, and so as characters from the comics. So I really wanted to give it a chance, but it just ended up as this excuse. The stories were just an excuse to go from one fight scene to another.
Yes,
and I agreed with you when you were talking about the fight scenes. I find most of them just a little too precious. It's like, hey, we're showing off the fact we've got great stunt people, and it's like. I think the only show that really pulls that off in a consistent way is Daredevil, and everyone else is.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Just a knockoff.
You can tell that they're choreographed. You can tell.
Oh yeah,
that they're pulling their punches. Yeah. I mean, it's like okay, Daredevil does it so much so well that you can't really tell that they're not really punching each other. But I agree. It was these shows, and again, we're dealing with low budgets and stuff. I get that. But these actors need to be better prepped in order to do their choreography because they're not good.
And it's but the thing is, I'm willing to overlook that. It's just the way that they become a much bigger deal than the story, and that's the problem I have with it.
They always end up in a big fight. Right? They're going to have a fight in this portion. They're going to have a fight there. They're going to fight the Nazis. They're going to fight the. I mean, it's just that's what they're moving to. It's just like, I go back to those Chinese movies. With they're going to be the knockoffs. I mean, it was just okay. Well, they're going to have a fight. They're moving towards the fight. It's all about the fighting. And I'm like, well, you can fly around. You got a nuclear suit. You're a nuclear man. Why are you punching people? And he's got what also again
exactly.
They had an ice gun, right? That Captain Cold has an ice gun, but when he shoots people, people fly back like he's got shot with a bullet. Why don't they just freeze in place?
Well, they do the same thing with Supergirl's heat vision. It's like,
well, yeah,
it's heat vision. It's like it's only supposed to heat you up, but it has like an impact, and I don't get that.
But even bullets don't do that kind of reaction. You get shot with a bullet, you're not being flung backwards. I mean, it's the law of it's the law, the transfer of energy. It doesn't do that to your body. But you get these guns and they're flying people. Just freeze them or burn them. That's what those guns are designed to do, right?
Exactly.
But anyway, so I don't know what George is. I guess his computer conked out again. So
all right, well, let's go on to another CW show. Did you watch The Flash last night?
I did.
What'd you think of it? Well, Carlos, let me tell you. I'm Anthony, and my on-screen name is Black Magnum, but I stopped watching The Flash because I got sick of it. I got sick of the storyline where the dude doesn't learn from his mistakes. He's always like, I'm sorry, but I'll fix it. Let me go back into the time stream and correct everything, and then he messes it up again. And then he's always like, with the girl, well, what about us? What about us? I don't want a love story. I want Flash to run around, zip around town, saving babies falling out of buildings, cats falling out of trees, and stuff like that. I want the Super Friends Flash, not this little millennial kid. But anyway, that's my take on it. What do you think of The Flash? What did you think of last night's episode?
Well, I've liked The Flash. They have their ups and downs, but I generally like the show. I like the ensemble cast. I think they have great chemistry together. I don't mind the romance part because even in the original comics, Iris was an integral part of the storyline, and of course, that was the 50s and 60s, so she wasn't too integral, but she was there, and she was something that Flash had to juggle for some time. So I don't mind that. I just wish they would shit or get off the pot. It's like either have them in a relationship and have them dealing with being in a relationship, but stop this. Yeah, I love you. No, I don't love you. Yeah, do you love me? No, I'm with somebody else. It's like one way or the other, and so I think they did a better job of that in the first season, but or the last season, and but then they sort of had them together and sort of not, and that's kind of a problem for me. I will tell you this: I kind of like this new Harrison Wells, HR. I thought I was going to hate him because he was a little too goofy, but he's funnier than the other Harrison Welleses. And I think now that he's sort of come out of the closet to them about being a novelist and an idea guy, not really a scientist.
He's not a scientist anymore.
And so he's pitching himself like an entrepreneur would, which is his thing. He's pitching himself to them as still being valuable, and I think he will prove valuable. I think the idea of having him not be the be-all, end-all guy who figures out the scientific solution to everything in 5 minutes actually ups the stakes dramatically for this show. So I'm looking forward to them to this new Harrison Wells, and I love, by the way, that each version of Harrison Wells that we've seen calls Cisco by a different name. I think that's a nice touch.
What does he? I forget. What does he call him in this one?
He calls him Francisco.
That's right. That's right. Right, but did you see all the little nuances? How he greets the day, how he says goodbye.
Yeah,
that's too weird.
It's a little cheesy, but I think that's part of. I think it's part of what they were trying to do was.
I don't even think that's real. I think he's just making that up.
Yeah, I mean, it very well could be because I think he was trying to distract them from by making them focus on his weird turns of phrase rather than seeing that he really wasn't a scientist.
What do you think about Caitlin becoming Killer Frost?
Well, I have to admire the fact that they fooled me, because obviously if you know the comics, from her name that she's Killer Frost. But then when you saw that the actual Killer Frost was an Earth 2 person in the last season, and it's like, oh,
sorry guys, I'm back.
Oh, you're back. Welcome back.
I'm so sorry. I had to reboot. I had some major issues with my computer, but I'm back. Sorry.
That's why you reboot before.
We just moved on to the Flash, and we were talking about Caitlin and her becoming Killer Frost.
Yes.
So, I was just saying that I was fooled in last season when the Killer Frost I thought was going to be ended up being, a villain on Earth 2. And I thought, oh, well, I guess ours is going to be a not villain. And then Flashpoint turned her into one. And which I kind of like the idea. I wish that we had seen a little, like there was more to it in terms of why she started becoming Killer Frost in this new timeline. They sort of
she
like
kind of said that to her mom, didn't she? She said,
yeah.
How her mom? She's like, she said to her mom, "I'm assuming." She used that word, assuming. She says, "I'm assuming it has to do with the particle accelerated explosion, sort of a delayed thing." I don't know.
Yeah, that's what she said, but we don't know.
But it could be just due to Flashpoint. Due to him changing the timeline.
But there still has to be something in the new timeline that causes it. Like his changing the timeline had to set something in motion that resulted in her getting these new powers, and we just don't know what that is yet. And hopefully they'll get around to telling us, and I hope that it's a big enough deal when they finally do. But I also, the thing that troubles me about it that they showed in last night's episode is like, it's just the idea that it's just the use of her powers makes her crazier or more evil. I don't really like that. It's
not necessarily evil, but remember the whole theme is it makes her cold. It's like it
just dampens her emotions. She just
like her mom. I think is it not a coincidence that her mom? If you look at her relationship with her mother,
bitch.
Right. Well, she points out to her mom, "You've always been cold since Dad died." Is it possible that her mental state affected the paradigm of how her powers manifest? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and if that's what it is, I think that's actually a great thing, because it's real drama. It's not just sort of cause and effect. You've got cold powers, so now you're evil. Is a little too easy. But if it has an actual, if we can see that there's an actual psychological underpinning that makes sense in a way that sort of deepens the character rather than just adding this sort of patina of evil to it just because she got these superpowers. Because we haven't really seen any other metahumans in this show who are evil just because they got powers. They're evil. They were evil before, and the powers just made them more so. So I'd hate to see. I'd hate to see Caitlin be the one who's the exception to that rule.
My only problem with this episode was the throwaway ease. Well, although I guess it kind of falls in comic book camp that the villain, who wasn't really a villain, the kid, had the virtual ability to create that monster. Like, he put all these hologram projectors across the city, but there was no explanation for how this kid got a hold of that kind of technology. You know what I mean? It's like it's an accepted thing that in this world, people can create holograms and they can do this. Kind of high tech for some kid to randomly get a hold of. You know what I'm saying?
Something else about that kid that bothered me was, we see this a lot now, but he's like, they tease me all the time. But I'm like,
we get that, but the tech, that was like,
no. But for me, I'm like, you're just harping on, they're getting teased. All of a sudden, now they've got to suddenly have a giant damn hologram raping because they got to feel bad as I do. This is what I'm getting sick of. Why you got to get to the heart of who's actually, being bullied, not just teased, bullied here. Teasing is part of life. Teasing is part of childhood.
You know what, though?
Everybody gets teased.
What I liked about that, though, is that the Flash didn't actually sympathize with him. He actually said, "You're going to pay," and he threw him to the dude. I think Justin, by the way, is Dr. Alchemy. That's my theory. Okay, so my theory is that I don't know this. There's no spoilers.
Malfoy, so yeah,
well, listen. Well, see, there's no theory. There's no spoilers going on here. The reason I think that Justin is Dr. Alchemy is it's a parallel between Dr. Alchemy's reasons for trying to make people remember that they were metahumans. It's almost like he's trying to say, you know, you have to be worthy. If you're not a worthy, like with the rival, I guess it was implied that he killed him because he wasn't a worthy metahuman. So he has this cult that he created. In the comics, he has this Philosopher's Stone that he got from Merlin. Now, I don't know if that's what they're going to do with this show, but he's not a metahuman. He has a magical artifact, sort of like Damien Dark has his powers from artifacts. And he's saying, you know, this artifact gives me powers, and I'm going to use this to help other people become metahumans. So if you look at the parallel with Barry's partner there, Justin, and his whole arc about how he's like, I wasn't given powers, and if I did have powers, I would do this with it, and I would do this with it, and I get so pissed off that these people are doing these bad things with it. Do you not see the parallel? I think it's a little too obvious, but I think it's sometimes the obvious is the truth, and I think this dude is Alchemy. What do you guys think?
Well, I'm not sure, but I will tell you that I thought the way that they what he was saying in last night's episode about metahumans definitely is a setup for a bigger thing.
Right.
I totally agree with you there. Whether it's alchemy or not, I'm not quite sure. Although it is significant to me that in the original timeline he didn't exist, and in the new one he does. So
right.
So that may be a big clue in favor of your.
They do
your
a lot
theory.
of red herrings in Flash, like with
that's
like
right.
with Jay Garrick last year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I thought that was actually a really nice.
It was a well-handled red herring. So that's why I'm thinking, you know, sometimes you have to wonder: is it the obvious or is it a red herring?
Well, I think they're going to do something with him no matter what. But, you know, the thing is that he is listed in the credits as a special guest star, which means he's not in for the long haul, and which I think actually contributes to your theory, because Dr. Alchemy will only be there for a while as well. But
is he indigenous to Flashpoint, you think?
Dr. Alchemy or...
Well, yeah, because they said the Flashpoint storyline, as far as Comic-Con, they said it's not going to take up the whole season. So they could, because they're getting ready to launch into the whole Dominators and the four-way crossover later on with Supergirl and everybody else. Right. So I'm wondering if this is the first half. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it definitely could be. I mean, I think that you know, Flash tends to have a single big bad every season, and then you know the meta of the week kind of a format, and they're still sort of doing that. But yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely something there with Justin. I was sure of it last night after seeing him speak the lines about, you know, if I had powers, I would be like this or whatever. And so I think there's definitely something in store for him. Not sure if it's him being Alchemy, because it doesn't quite fit in, because the rival is a bad guy, right? So.
Right, but we're talking about the guy who played Malfoy from the Harry Potter things.
Yeah,
it could be. I think it could be another red herring. He's played the bad guy before. Why didn't he be a good guy this time?
And the thing is like I said, that Flash has done a good job of red herrings, because we thought, you know, I although I suspected Zoom of who he really was, I wasn't sure. But once they got midway through, because you got to remember, the Flash, they're not like Netflix. They go all the way with the 20-something episode season. So They take their time, and then they also split it up. Like for example, we have a 2-week gap between last night's episode and the next Flash, November 25th, I think they said, before the next episode. So they're making us sit on it and chew on it. So I'm wondering, like, the way that they kind of play these story arcs out. I'm thinking last year, and we didn't really truly understand what was going on with Zoom until, like, you know, way later. Like, we're talking spring, almost into summer, when they finally wrapped it up. But I had no clue, because they made because when what's his face Hunter Zolomon was shown, when Zoom showed Caitlin that Earth 1 version of him, that threw me for a loop, because they were trying to throw off the fans. Like, no, look, I found my doppelganger. That's Hunter Zolman. And Hunter Zolman was always the name of the character who was the, not the rival, but one of the Reverse Flashes. Right. So, yeah, so they've been able to play with. They know that people who are fanboys and girls watch the show, so they're always trying to throw us for a loop. So that's why I'm wondering: is it too obvious? Is Justin really Dr. Alchemy? Is it too obvious, or is there a twist?
I think it's too obvious. I think it's too obvious.
I think it may be too obvious as well, but there may be a link though between them, and I think you're right. The thing that I kind
maybe
of
he's
admire,
his son.
I don't know.
I mean,
son of alchemy,
right? The son of alchemy. He doesn't know his dad's the alchemist, or maybe he does, and he's
but sometimes the obvious is the truth. That's what I'm saying. That's the twist thing.
Yeah, I mean, definitely that could be the case. Although, really, at this point, we know only just slightly more than zero about Dr. Alchemy. We don't know what his motivation is. We don't know.
Right. Other than the comics version, if you look it up.
Well, right, but we don't know how much of that survives. I mean,
exactly.
They pick and choose what they want to do, which I'm actually fine with, because I think, I was starting to say that I think one of the things I admire about this show is they do a really good job of mining all of the history of this character and his rogues gallery and everything, and then putting a new twist on it so that you don't go, oh, it's the Reverse Flash, so he's going to be like X, Y, and Z. He's going to be exactly, and I like that they do that.
I do too. Magnum, have you been? I know that you walked away from the Flash the last 2 episodes. Did you watch this one?
Oh, you missed my little rant and rave.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I wasn't here.
No, he hadn't watched it. He's left it.
I don't watch it. I left that show. I'm tired of this.
It's dead to him.
Yeah, I'm tired of this millennial BS. Oh, I messed up. I'll fix it. Oh, I messed it up again. I'm so sorry. Well, what about us? Are we going to be together in this timeline? What about us? Are we going to be together in this time? Maybe if we go to Earth 2, we'll fall in love. I'm tired of it.
I will agree with you. Like, those things are annoying. But there's enough there besides that, or on top of that keeps me with the show. But definitely those things you're pointing out are annoying things. I agree with you about the whole Iris thing and the Flashpoint thing. It just was so selfish of him that I'm just amazed. Like, it's time travel 101. You can change the thing you want to change, but it's going to change a lot of other things, and you're responsible for that. So. It just struck me as really more selfish than this character actually is.
Well, Anthony, I mean, if you've seen it, I mean, he's actually with, his girlfriend now. He's not moping around. They're actually kissing.
I don't care.
Right, exactly. But the thing is, I mean, he's actually acting mature now. I mean, from what I'm seeing, he's not the kid anymore. He's actually maturing, and I like this.
Kid Flash, pun intended. Okay, so just because we could talk about the Flash all day, when I had the technical errors, did you guys talk about Supergirl?
No, we haven't talked about Supergirl.
Not yet, but I have something to bring up on that.
Okay, bring that up, and then let's go to Supergirl. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead and open up on Supergirl, and then I want to make a comment that you guys made to me when I had a complaint before about something.
Okay, so real quick, Supergirl. Okay, so the newest episode. I don't know if anybody's watched that, but
I'm all caught up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're all caught up.
So a girl at work who's a huge fan of all this stuff, she says to me, "Oh my God!" And I've heard this from so many people, and I don't agree with them at all. Because they don't know the history that I know, where they're saying Mon-El's going to be the new Superboy, and they're going to make Young Justice because they got Miss Martian, and now they got this guy who's obviously going to be the new version of Superboy. And I'm sorry, that's not what's going to happen, because
anyone who knows that's what's not going to happen.
Yeah, because so last season on Supergirl, she saw the Legion ring. I'm going to plant that as evidence number 1. Okay. She saw the Legion ring. Granted, it was a redress of the same prop that they used from Smallville, but it doesn't matter. There's a reason they did that. So Supergirl's love interest in all of Justice League Unlimited and the comics, and I've talked about this on the show before, is Brainiac 5. Now, they've already introduced Indigo, who was created by the Coluans, the same race as Brainiac 5. So, they introduced the Legion Ring, which means they exist in the Supergirl universe, okay? Mon-El is a Daxamite, and Mon-El he's been around since the 60s, like I talked about in the show before. In fact, Anthony and I talked about this 2 episodes ago when it was just him and I, and we haven't aired that episode yet. I mean, we did, but we didn't. The point is that Supergirl was invited to join the Legion of Superheroes. The Legion of Superheroes are from the 31st century. Mon-El was a character from Daxam who crash-landed, and Superboy's parents, Jonathan and Martha Kent, thought he was from Krypton, and he had amnesia, and he thought he was Superboy's brother, and they temporarily adopted him. And the whole point was when they figured out that Daxam
wasn't Superboy a clone?
Well,
no,
you're thinking of the other Superboy. You're thinking of the second Superboy.
Yeah.
Okay, so Superboy, the original Superboy, and they had a TV show, by the way, with Lana as his girlfriend back in the 80s or 90s. I know it was the 80s, and before there was a whole legal thing. Kind of like Axanar in some ways. You know what I'm saying?
It's a long-standing
disputes. It has to do with the red tights or no red tights. You know what I'm saying? Undies, I'm sorry. It's kind of weird. But anyways, the point is that Superboy was a separate franchise from Superman, but it was about Superman as a boy. And it was like Smallville if he had actually, instead of not learning everything for 10 years, actually got into his suit, did his stuff, but called himself Superboy, and they had a show about this, and it was also in the comics from the 60s to the 70s, and the Legion of Superheroes traveled back in time, and they recruited him to join them. Also, they recruited Supergirl, and Supergirl fell in love with Brainiac 5. Now, this was in Justice League Unlimited. He's a green-skinned dude, he's a Coluan, and she ended up staying with him in the future. Now, this was before the 52 universe. And the thing is that Supergirl saw the Legion ring in the Fortress of Solitude, okay? Mon-El got sent into the Phantom Zone after he was shot by a gun because Daxamites they're like Kryptonians, except they are not they have one weakness, lead. You get shot by a bullet, you get lead poisoning. So Superboy pulled the bullet out of him, but the lead poisoning, he couldn't cure it. So what he did was he put him in the Phantom Zone for 1,000 years until the Legion of Superheroes, Brainiac 5, pulled him out of the Phantom Zone and cured him. And then he became a member of the Legion of Superheroes. Now, here's the thing. They introduced the character of Mon-El. So far, very similar to the story in the comics. The only difference is Daxam wasn't destroyed or, bombarded, because they were a big part of Darkseid's plans in the future. However, everybody's been asking, is he going to be the new Superboy, and they got Miss Martian, and they're going to make this into the new Young Justice live action? No. At least I don't think so. If they do, that's really screwing.
Well, they're going to see how popular these characters are before they do anything like that with them.
It sounds like you know what I'm talking about, Carlos, so go ahead.
Oh, I'm a long-time Legion of Superheroes fan.
You know who Mon-El is then, right?
Oh, yeah. In fact, I even know why his name is Mon-El.
Exactly.
You remember why his name was
on a Monday.
They found him on a Monday.
His name was El.
Married on a Tuesday, christened on Wednesday.
No.
Yeah,
right?
His real name in the
Just
comics is actually
Monday.
Largand. Largand.
Well, here's a quick side question for you. What did you think of the Star Trek Legion of Heroes IDW crossover comic? Or did you see
seen it? I want to.
I have seen it. I haven't read. Wasn't it a 2-issue thing?
It was a multiple issue one. It's in trade.
I've only read.
It was a couple years ago, so it's in trade paperback by now.
Okay, I'll have to look it up. I read one of the issues of it that I came across, which I was kind of excited because I love both. But these days they're crossing over Star Trek with everything: Doctor Who, Green Lantern.
But you gotta admit, those were both cool.
Well, I read it. It was a lot of fun, especially the banter between Spock and Brainiac 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that Brainiac 5 in Supergirl, honestly, I really think they're heading there. Only because of the simple fact that they have Mon-El now, and they show that ring. But Carlos, I didn't mean to interrupt you. What do you think what is your prediction? Since I can tell that you know the old school lore in this situation, where do you think they're headed with this? With Mon-El?
I'm not sure yet because they have fiddled a little bit with his origin story.
Right, because they didn't give him the name Largant.
Right. So, like he said, my name is Mon-El. So, I'm wondering if they're going to try to explore why he has the same family name as a Kryptonian. Maybe not. Who knows? Because it's kind of obvious. But
they are the same system, right? So
right. But in the comics,
it could be a cultural thing.
Maybe because it looks like they parted ways a long time before. So, but who knows? Maybe that's. That may be different because it's just like, oh, here happens to be a Kryptonian escape pod. I think I'll climb into it and go. So there's a reason they talked about it being, I guess, the ambassador's escape pod, and they were all killed or something. So I don't know. Maybe I suspect we're going to find out more about that as time goes on. I think a lot of it really depends on how popular the character ends up being to see how much they do with him. The Legion flight ring, I think, is a big clue. The fact we've seen it not only on Supergirl but also in the Flash and the Flash.
Wait! They showed the Flash?
Yeah, it was in the Flash. When if you look, when Barry is making his journey to Earth 2, and he sees all those visions of the future kind of floating by. If you look carefully, there's
a scenes from Smallville. Yeah,
and there is a Legion flight ring there as well.
Okay.
So and it's the legit canon Legion flight ring with the L and the little starburst. It was a nice touch. So for old people like me, it was kind of exciting. I would love when they showed the Legion of Superheroes on Smallville. I loved it. It was great. I actually know the actor who played Lightning Lad. He's a Canadian.
Yeah, he's the dude from. He was in. He's a great rapper.
Yeah,
he was in Lemonade.
Well, he's actually has a regular gig on what is the name of that show on the Disney Channel?
Yeah,
the one with the Allie and
I know what you're talking about.
You know which one I'm talking about. He's got super.
He's a great rapper. He really is. He was.
He's a very gifted musician. He's a pianist. He's a singer. He's super, and one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. He's just a really great guy. His name's Kalen Worthy, and when I met him, I'm like, I have to tell you. I mean,
how'd you meet him?
Well, it's a long story, but a good friend of his. I'll shorten it. A good friend of his is a guy that I cast in my first film, who's also from Canada.
Oh, really?
And they had the same agent at the time, and they knew an agent in common. So I was having dinner with them, and I really wanted him to tell Richard Harmon, who's now on the 100, to be in my movie, and so I basically said, I'll buy you dinner if you tell him to be in my movie.
Nice.
Which, I mean, Richard was going to be in the movie anyway. But anyway, he was just super nice about it. Very nice guy to talk to, good conversationalist. And yeah, so it's kind of a twisted path. And of course, Richard's now on the 100, which I love. And so anyway, they're both friends from Vancouver. And so when I met him, I'm like, oh, I loved you as Lightning Lad. And I said, that's all the fangirling I'm going to do, but just know you were a great Lightning Lad.
Dude, when I watched that episode of Smallville, and for those that you don't know, they did change the name of it. Wasn't the Legion of Superheroes. They called it the Legion on Smallville.
Yeah, it was just the Legion, yeah.
Yeah, I have a prediction that the Legion is coming to Supergirl because they've planted so many, Easter eggs. Like, for example, Indigo, Kaluan, right? So, and who created Brainiac 5?
Well, you can't really have a super type person without having a Brainiac in there somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
Right, but the thing about Brainiac 5 was she was Supergirl's Lois Lane. She was like her lover of her life. So that kind of annoyed me. Like, I don't want her to get with James Olsen. I understand they're trying to create their own thing there, but the fact that they planted the fact that the Legion exists with this Easter egg, and then you got Mon-El, my prediction, this is why I'm starting to open up my eyes and say, you know what? This is where the CW is going with this. I think Brainiac 5 is coming. I think he is going to become her boyfriend, and I think she's going to end up time traveling. I think it's going to tie into Legends of Tomorrow. It's very possible, because if you think about it, what lends itself to the time travel thing? The Legion of Superheroes, right?
Sure. They are on different Earths, though, so that's
but
a little...
are they?
It's a little bit of a hitch, because,
yeah, that's true. You're right.
Obviously, it's possible to travel between the two Earths, because we've seen it happen, but it's not as neat a timeline thing as it is in the comics, where yes, one's in the future, but it's all the same. It's all the same Earth, not a parallel. So, so I think they're gonna. I think they definitely have planted the seeds, and they're gonna see how it goes. And I think a lot of it will depend on how much the audience likes Mon-El, and which I think they will. I think he's a pretty good actor. I think his characterization is kind of a frat boy party guy. Is kind of cool. It's not your standard sort of, I'm here to save the day.
Well, my prediction, like I said, my prediction is he's going to get shot. You're going to see 2 or 3 more episodes with him. He's going to get shot by a bullet, and they're going to go, oh, Dax mites are, lead can hurt them. They're going to put him in the Phantom Zone, and they're going to tie in the Legion. That's just my prediction. Because, like I said, they planted the seeds. They've already planted the seeds from the previous season.
They've definitely plowed the ground for it, and I think, one of the things I really liked about this last episode of Supergirl, when she decided to sort of take Mon-El under her wing, right? I thought it made sense for her as a character to, what she said, which is, I'm finally getting the chance to serve my purpose. The whole reason I was sent to Earth was to help my cousin grow up.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And she didn't get to do that, and now she sees sort of a renewed sense of purpose with Mon-El. So I think that, and they're also sort of hinting at possible kind of
romance
with them. So it would make sense that there is some sort of tragic thing that happens, and they have to be separated because of the lead or whatever weakness that they're going to introduce for him. So I think it's definitely moving in the direction of your theory.
Awesome. All right. So I want to say one thing about, because like I said, I had some technical difficulties, and I had to disappear when I wanted to talk about, I really wanted to talk about Legends of Tomorrow. I don't know what you guys talked about while I was gone. I'm sorry about that.
Can we go back to Supergirl before you do that?
Yes, you speak up, my friend.
All right. So,
let's
talk about Mon-El, right?
Go for it.
So he coerces, what's his face, to take him out. To get a beer. Right?
Win, yeah.
They get in a bar fight. Now, someone punches Mon-El in the face, and he turns his head.
Oh, here we go.
He does not, here it comes. He does not have the same ideology as Superman, nor does he know he's that strong. So, again, this proves my theory is right, that this is a fake fight scene, because trust me, anyone punching Superman or anyone on Krypton, their heads should not move when they get punched.
Well,
look at Mon-El in the fight. His head gets turned when he gets punched.
Real quick,
Mon-El is evil.
Wait a minute.
He is an evil man. And if he knows that it'll break a human's hand, he's not going to turn his head.
No, I think again, what we're dealing with is the directors, the producers, whatever. I think they need to see that this guy getting punched. That's all it is.
Okay, so
they're wrong.
So just so Carlos knows, we talked about this last week. We had an argument. I said the reason why. Tyler Hencheg, or whatever his name is, turned his head when the guy punched him is because he didn't want him to break his hand, so he was trying to turn his head with it so he didn't break his hand. And that was because that's something Superman would do. He's like, oh, this is cute. This guy's trying to punch me. You know what I'm saying? And Anthony made a big deal about it because he's a martial arts instructor. And he's like, oh, no, he
Oh, I lost George.
No, you didn't. So I'm just like, you turned your cheek to spare this guy from breaking his wrist. So my opinion was that's why the writers at the time made Tyler do that.
Yeah, but you're blaming it on the writers. I'm talking about a person from a different planet. If he's supposed to have similar powers, his head is not going to turn if you punch it.
I think you're right, and I think I fall right in the middle between you two. I think you're right that he has nothing to fear from the guy, but you also have to remember that he hasn't had powers for very long.
That's
true. But he has them.
Right, but he hasn't had them for very long.
It's an instinct. You just turn your head.
In the movie with Christopher Reeve, right? When that dude punched him in the head, Christopher Reeve, his chin did not move at all. And you guys are trying to tell me, oh, he turned his head because he doesn't want to break his hand. You sound like a millennial.
No, I agree with you.
I gotta back him up here because in Batman vs Superman, Batman hitting him in that big mechanical Iron Man suit. After the kryptonite dust wore off, it was like hitting a brick wall.
Right. There you go. I have proof, George.
I don't disagree with you about how strong his head is. To me, it's just a question of just an instinctive reaction, and it's not even a philosophical thing about how he didn't want to hurt the human's hands. So it's just he's not that kind of guy. So I think it's just much more. Plus, that actually leads to a bigger issue, which is the extent of their superpowers. Because Supergirl, one of the things that kind of drives me a little crazy is, I know they can't make her like omni-powerful because then it's too easy, but she gets beat up a lot by...
Yeah, but she never bleeds, though.
She have what?
She never bleeds, though.
She's bled.
Yeah,
she had that whole fight with the what was his name, Drago, whatever, the dragon guy, where he just he mopped up the floor with her, and it's like, okay, fine, there's a stronger alien, although there really are very few.
So that makes you wonder, how did they even get him to agree to do this pit fight?
Exactly. If he's that powerful, why is he even there? Why isn't he out doing things that a very powerful being could do if they were evil?
He has a bum knee. Really? Really? That's his weakness? He has a bum knee? Honestly?
Yeah. So I have some issues with how easily she gets defeated sometimes. She was knocked out by this dude, which I thought was a little... I don't expect her to be all powerful, but I expect her to be able to do a little better against another alien. Because, if there are other aliens that powerful on Earth... why are they doing this, piddly little Fight Club thing? That's just stupid.
They were doing Fight Club for the sake of Fight Club.
All I have to say is, if I was as strong as Superman or Supergirl, like that lizard dude, I'd be out there robbing banks. I'd be robbing banks, and I'd be giving money. I would be stealing candy from kids.
You know what?
I'd go to the movie theater and talk loud.
That's so funny because you just said exactly what the Justin, which is Barry's partner, that was the whole reason he gave his spiel about people with metahuman powers. He's like, because they always go out and what do they do with the powers? They rob banks and they steal candy from kids. No, they didn't say that.
But again, okay, George, if that's what it kind of goes away from what you think Justin being alchemy.
Justin Bieber.
No, Justin being alchemy, right? Because if Justin was alchemy, he's giving these people powers and they're doing evil things with them. He doesn't want that.
But he's got a split personality if I'm reading.
Well, no, now you're coming up with another. No, he doesn't have a split personality.
You haven't seen it
this
yet.
This guy has more theories than anybody I know.
Right.
I got a theory about that.
He pulls them out of his backside.
I read a comic book 12 years ago. It was episode 7. On the 25th page.
I'm right though.
You're not right, George.
Well,
I am.
We'll see.
You're not right, my friend.
Right,
Monel is evil. I will say that much.
No, he is not evil at all.
He is not evil.
He is evil.
No.
Why do you think he's evil?
No, look, dude. Monel...
Why do they keep dressing him in head to toe in black? All black. No, Monel.
He's not in black.
He's not in black. He was wearing a gray t-shirt.
Okay,
yeah.
Let's put it this way. He's evil. He is going to stab Supergirl in the back. I'm just saying.
No,
he's going to stab her in the back.
The worst thing he's going to do.
So it's evil supervillain versus tragic frat boy romance.
It's basically just like Darth Vader, right? I was once the learner, but now I'm the master. And Monel's going to do the same thing because Kara is going to say, "This is how you live on Earth."
No,
and he's going to say, "Bollocks." And then he's going to go do his own thing, rob a couple of banks, steal some candy from baby, talk loud in the movie theater, all that stuff.
The worst thing that's going to happen is he's going to sleep with Kara. She's going to go, you were great. And he's going to go, I've had better.
And there it is.
Yep, see, that's a Georgism right there.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but it's true.
It all has to do with sex.
Yes, it does. Okay, anyways. Sorry, I'm just joking. So anyways, we're on the second hour of our show, and Carlos, you as a so hang on, because I got cut off because of the. Anyways, Carlos, tell us what's going on with Axanar. There's a lot going on with the whole Discovery thing. I don't mean Star Trek: The Discovery, the show. What's going on with Alec Peters and Discovery?
Okay, so Discovery actually ended today. So Discovery is the time period in which both sides in a lawsuit gather evidence, and a lot of that evidence they gather from one another. So there's a lot of different ways in which they can gather evidence: depositions, they can send written questions, they can ask for files, emails, documents, whatever they can think of. Usually they can get, and so they issue these requests through subpoenas to one another, saying, "I would like all of Alec Peters' emails that have to do with." Axanar, Prelude to Axanar, how it was created, how you worked with your creative team to make it or do pre-production for the feature film, those kinds of things. So that process has been going on for the last few months, and very late in the game, in September and October, they started doing depositions. And so that's where they issue subpoenas to different witnesses to come in and answer questions. And for a lot of them also to provide a lot of their own documents, usually emails, contracts, anything like that. So the subpoena, and the two that I've seen myself, were 17 pages long, and they go through quite a long list of things, very specific things that they want the person, the witness that they're questioning, to provide. And then they go through all that and prepare what they're going to ask them in person in these depositions. Well, the depositions happened pretty late in the game. Some of them were scheduled for September. They were moved into October, very close to the end of Discovery, which is today. That's when the court says after this date, Discovery is cut off. You can't ask one another for documents and things. So pretty late in the game, we discovered through one of the depositions that there was a big trove of emails that Alec Peters was a part of, either sending or receiving or CC'd, that he never turned over to the plaintiff's attorneys.
Sort of like Hillary thing.
Sort of. And in this case, and he did provide emails, but none of them apparently had anything to do with the actual production of Prelude to Axanar and Axanar. And they found this out almost accidentally, in the course of the deposition of Christian Gossett, who was the director of Prelude to Axanar, he went in there. He also received a subpoena that said, bring all the emails that are relevant. He did, and they were like, we've never seen these before. And that was a surprise. And, so that happened, 2 Saturdays ago. And then the plaintiffs went into high gear because there obviously were things that had not been produced. In fact, Robert Meyer Burnett, the director of Axanar, didn't turn over any
emails. The first director, and then he got replaced by Christian, right?
No, other way around. Christian was the one who directed Prelude and was scheduled to direct Axanar, but he resigned in May of 2015, as it turns out, because there was a lot of things going on behind the scenes that he was not comfortable with. A lot of them having to do with money, a lot of them having to do with mismanagement, a lot of them having to do with, how a lot of the people he brought on board, like professional people, line producers and such, who had made Prelude as amazing a product as it was. And I'm not one of the people who thinks Prelude is bad. I don't think it's a bad fan film
bad.
at all.
It was actually pretty good. Yeah, I mean,
I thought it was pretty good. And I thought Christian did a wonderful job as a director of it. I even think that Robert Meyer Burnett did a great job in editing it. But the fact is that most of those people who really brought that level of professionalism to it are gone now, and many of them were driven away by Alec Peters. And so for that reason, those were among the reasons that Christian resigned in May of 2015. And if you want the whole story, the G&T show has an extensive interview with Christian in which he talks about the history of all this and how the decision happened to or came about to build their own studio. So anyway, so Christian's deposition turned up all these emails that neither side knew existed. And so as they were going into basically the last week of discovery, the plaintiffs, CBS and Paramount, had their attorneys draw up an ex parte motion. It's basically an emergency motion that goes right to the judge. It doesn't have to be sent to the opposing counsel first. It goes right to the judge, and it happens in instances where they think something so egregious and so time-sensitive has happened that they need the judge to review it and make a decision right away because of the fact that they have a deadline. They're facing a deadline. So in this filing, which was done last Thursday, October 27th, they said, we need to know, are there any more emails? We need to know, we need to be able to share the financial information that has been turned over so far with other witnesses because we have to be able to ask them about it. And they had, Alec Peters had classified the financial information he turned over as highly confidential and attorney's eyes only, which meant only attorneys could look at that information. They couldn't use it to question any other witnesses. And so the plaintiffs were complaining to the judge that wasn't an appropriate designation for the financial information because there's no trade secrets in there. It's literally just, here's what we spent our money on. It doesn't divulge anything that would be anti-competitive or anything like that. And so they said that making it attorney's eyes only was too high a designation to place on the finances. They went as far as to claim that the reason that that Axanar doesn't want that information out there is because a lot of it could prove embarrassing to him. Now, the defense doesn't like the word embarrassment, and to be fair, they never used the word embarrassment, although the plaintiffs did quote it and make it seem as if they had. But if you read the actual emails that were involved, defense attorney Erin Ranahan never said that the financial information would be embarrassing. But what she did say was that it getting out could prove harmful to Alec Peters because there are apparently a large number of third parties, and I think I'm supposedly one of them, who would use this information to bring down Alec Peters.
Oh, gee.
And
God forbid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, and then they try to make a big deal out of how the only way I could have. I should also say, by the way, that Christian Gossett's deposition was on Saturday, the 22nd of October, and I got word through sources that I can't name, obviously, that this whole email thing happened during that deposition. And so I published that information. And I didn't do it in a full article because I didn't get a lot of information. What I got was there were emails that hadn't been turned over, and they had something to do with Alec Peters and Robert Meyer Burnett. And that's all I knew. It wasn't enough to do an entire article, so I never did an entire article until later in the week when we finally got more information about it that became public. But so I did a tweet, 140 character tweet that mentions this, and then I discussed it a little bit on Facebook in one of the Facebook groups that discusses the case. And
you can plug it. It's okay.
Let's CBS Paramount versus
no, dude.
Is the group.
Yeah, plug it. I'm part of it. Go ahead. It's okay. You can say anything you want to say on the show.
Sure. So anyway, so that was the extent of what I said. I didn't have enough information to really go much further than that, so I didn't go much further than that. But apparently, the defense tried to turn my tweet into this big deal about how highly confidential information was being revealed, was being leaked to me. It had to be leaked by the opposing counsel, and therefore sanctions should be brought against them. And so they tried to deflect from what was actually going on, which is the fact that they didn't turn over everything they were supposed to have turned over in that they were subpoenaed for, into a thing about apparently me and leaked information. And they made those allegations in the court documents. They didn't name me. They just said third parties to whom the attorneys had leaked information. And they were using that as proof or as justification for why the financial information should not be why the court shouldn't loosen the restrictions on who could see that financial information, because essentially they were saying, well, we can't trust the plaintiff's attorneys to not leak this, therefore you shouldn't make it available for them to leak. Which, again, they produced no proof whatsoever that that's what happened, and yet they were claiming this to a judge. So I have a little bit of a problem with that. But the reality is, it didn't make any difference. It wouldn't have made any difference in the financial information, in the fact that, in fact, the emails were not turned over to the plaintiff's attorneys. Those are big deals, and to try to make it about me somehow, because I reported on this a few days before it became public, is the height of deflection.
Yeah, and I will always defend you, Carlos. I will tell you this. Carlos is a credible reporter. He has the balls. He has the credentials. That's what I'm saying. See, the thing is that all these people that are trying to kick him in the balls, and they're trying to say, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, that's basically just Alec Peters, and he's going to say whatever he wants to, in this case. But what it boils down to is Axanar, Alec Peters. He's basically the Donald Trump of Star Trek. I don't know what else. I don't even know what else there is to say, because until the outcome occurs, it seems to me like he's just sitting there with his girlfriend, Crystal. Is that her name?
Yeah, that's her name.
Yeah, with several R's. To just go sit there and go, oh, you're wrong. You guys are assholes, which we're not. But anyways, you know what I'm saying.
Right. So to bring us back to what's happened through today, is the judge took a look at what the studio's attorneys were claiming about what had happened with these emails and the financial information, and the fact that they believed that the defense hadn't disclosed conversations that Alec Peters had with lawyers prior to the lawsuit, and so they wanted what's known as a privilege log, basically just a record of the communications and subjects of the communications between him and other lawyers before the lawsuit, so that they can go through that and say, well, we don't think all of this is privileged, or some of this is not privileged, and so we want to see this particular piece of information. So both sides got privilege logs, and the defense on Friday filed their opposition to this emergency motion that would have granted these things. The biggest thing that the plaintiffs asked for was to depose Alec Peters another time.
Really?
In view of this discovery of all these new emails. And the defense originally said, no way, we refuse to produce him for another deposition. But then the news came out that all these emails were out there and they hadn't been delivered to the plaintiff's attorneys, and so then they backtracked a little bit and said, okay, you can have him for 2 hours maximum, and you can only question him about the documents that you have received since October 28th, I think. So they were really trying to limit the scope of potential questions for him. So that was the argument she made to the judge, the federal magistrate who's considering all of the discovery motions. They said, this is a big waste of time. It's wasting your time, wasting the court's times. You should completely turn this down.
Oh, so, right. Alec Peters, lawyer there.
Right. So that happened on Friday. Over the weekend, the federal magistrate read both motions, and he issued a ruling on Monday morning. Now, this is an interesting little bit of the story, because here's what they asked for. They said, we want to, the plaintiffs, the CBS and Paramount, wanted another deposition of Alec Peters. They wanted the financial information restrictions loosened so they could show it to more witnesses, and they wanted the privilege log. Those three things. And what they got from the magistrate on Monday was all three things. And yet, if you read Axanar and Fan Film Factor, which is their mouthpiece, they claimed that as a win because of the parlance in federal court is, if you don't grant everything in a motion, it's technically denied, but the motion or the judge's ruling makes a note of denied except for the things that I did grant, which are enumerated below. And the three things that he granted were the three things they most wanted. What the judge didn't grant was a broader request that would essentially have reopened searches for documents, searches for, just almost starting discovery over again. And he wasn't willing to do that because he likely knows that one way or the other, the plaintiffs were able to find the evidence they needed. And because of that, it didn't make sense to extend discovery, which would have been the way in which he would have granted that request. He wasn't willing to do that. But the three most important things, the three specific things that they asked for, they totally got. But because the legal parlance in the way that the civil minutes are written, because it says this motion is denied except for the things granted herein, Alec Peters tweeted immediately, denied, as if the whole thing was denied. And of course it wasn't. So it's just an interesting, clear example of the way that they spin the actual facts into things that make it seem like they won when they really didn't. The other thing he said is, well, we had previously agreed to all of these things. And that's sort of true. I did a whole fact check of what he actually said that they had agreed to and what they hadn't. And, in point of fact, after at the end of the week, his attorney did agree to a deposition, but as I said, only for 2 hours and only on restricted topics. But the judge granted them 5 hours to depose Alec Peters again, and he imposed no restrictions at all on the types of questions that could be answered or asked, rather. And that's a big deal because they can now use the emails, the newly discovered emails, to question him on a lot of other things that they had previously questioned him about. So that's a pretty big deal. That deposition happened today, concluded this afternoon. I got word about that. And so we'll see what happened. Now, the other major thing that occurred with Axanar was that on Monday, the scheduled settlement conference was held. This is something that was mandated by the court, but back in, I think it was in May. One of the things federal courts try to do is they try to encourage settlements to happen before trial, because trials are very expensive and very time consuming. So they require both sides in a lawsuit to select one of 3 different kinds of alternative dispute resolution options to follow prior to trial. So the one of the 3 that both sides agreed on was to sit down with a judge or a magistrate and discuss settlement. So that finally happened on Monday. They sat down with the same judge, actually, who had ruled about the additional deposition and on the emergency motion. And the way those things work, they're meant to be informal conferences. Nothing's on the record other than that it happened. They're supposed to come in prepared to talk about settlements. And also, one of the things that can happen in those discussions is that the magistrate judge can basically tell each side, look, here's what I think your prospects are legally going into a trial. And based on this, you should consider whether settlement might be a better path for you to follow.
Makes sense.
And it makes a lot of sense. And but the question is, was this something Axanar was going to be willing to accept? Because most people who know intellectual property law don't think that Axanar has a very strong case, and the strongest piece of it that they're trying to build is around fair use in the use of Star Trek's copyrights.
Axanar.
We're far.
Go ahead. I was just going to say Axanar. Okay, see, I've been following you and everybody on the Axanar versus CBS site, and the other one, which I won't mention, but is a private thing. But you know what I'm saying. But no, it's like Alec Peters is arrogant. You know what I'm saying? When I first saw the Axanar preview thing that they did, the whole trailer, they made that and they sold everybody on the fact that it was like, oh, this is our show, okay? But the thing is that wasn't what they were actually selling. They were misleading everybody because they were telling everybody, like, this is the show that you're gonna support, and this is the show that actually you're gonna get. The problem is that you didn't get it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, certainly the people, a good chunk of the people who made Prelude happen were not going to be the ones who were going to be working on Axanar.
Right.
And if you look at the script, it's not a terrible script, but it's not the best Star Trek script ever, which is what Rob Burnett had claimed. And I finally was able to get a hold of a copy of that script from August of 2015. I know they've made other changes since then, but it was the one that they announced was the locked and ready to shoot version of the Axanar script. And it's not all that, it's basically Captain Garth is amazing, isn't he, kind of story. And if anything, it's the Klingons who come out looking best in that version of the script. Karn, who was
Richard Hatch.
Yeah, Richard Hatch. His character, is the most textured and complex of any in that script, and
if I saw that trailer, I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you, but if you watch Richard Hatch in that trailer, he's the most awesome dude in the whole trailer on the Klingon side, and it just seems like it's a misleading trailer, you know?
Well, actually, it's not, in the sense that the script they ended up with, he's really the star of it. Like, he's really...
Oh, that's right. Some people have actually seen the...
Yeah, I mean, we did a review of it on Axamonitor. I gave the copy of script that I was able to obtain, and in fact, I've eventually been able to obtain a large number of the scripts as it's iterated over the years, and I had Jody Wheeler, who is a good friend of mine and a screenwriter and producer himself, and had him review it. And, you know, he basically said, look, if you like the Vulcan scene that Axanar released, 2.5 minute snippet of that script, if you like that scene, it was a walk and talk between two Vulcans talking about how great humans are and right. But how
and they had Gary
reckless
Kramer
they are
on that, right?
Yeah, and playing Soval, and he said if you like that, which is a lot of people talking at each other but great looking CGI, then you will like Axanar as it was going to be produced. And if you don't like it, you wouldn't have liked the movie that would eventually have come out. And I think that's fair. I mean, because there are a lot of people who think that the Vulcan scene is the most amazing thing ever. And, and there's just plenty to like about it. It's too long. But the thing to remember about it is it's not really the scene as we would have seen it in the final cut of the film. It's the scene that they created because they needed to raise another $1 million, and they needed it to be as flashy as possible, with an actual name actor in it as well. And so it was produced in time for Comic-Con of 2015 and for their August Indiegogo campaign, so they could raise the other $1 million that they needed. But then, of course, that came to an end because of the lawsuit.
Has anybody else here seen the Vulcan scene from Axanar? Anthony, Will, anybody?
Yes.
I've made it a point to ignore Axanar as much as possible.
I get it, but I totally
I saw it before the whole shebang went down. I mean, it's been out for a while. It's been out for a long time.
Right. So
yeah, it's been out since summer of 2015, I think.
I mean, okay. Here's the thing: Axanar is an ongoing case. It's an ongoing thing where it's a litigation where it's we're trying to figure out where everybody stands. So okay. I actually posted a Star Wars fan film today that somebody linked to me. I don't remember the name of it, but it was some independent thing. And I'm sitting there going, geez, these guys keep posting stuff, people who do Star Wars fan films, because they don't have anything to worry about. You know what I'm saying? But whenever, this whole Axanar thing puts the Star Trek thing in a situation where, oh, geez, you do have to worry about it. It's like, if we could get to a point where this is all done, everybody stops panicking about, what CBS might do, what Paramount might do, I would be happy. How do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, I think that I think it's really easy to try to create villains, and people really need to have that. And there are very few villains in this story. Honestly, I just don't think so. I think most of the people that are involved on Axanar's side and the people who now are opposed to Axanar, and CBS and Paramount themselves, they're not bad guys. They just want what they want, and it's a question of which of those things that they want is supported by the law.
Makes sense.
And it's not only that. On the last during the 24 Hours of GNT Marathon, something Terry mentioned that I think is relevant. Star Trek, the approximate worth of Star Trek is 25% of CBS. I'm not sure if that's accurate. But
I don't know either, but I know she is a stockholder, so maybe.
But think about how much Star Trek is worth. And if you want to maintain the possession of that dang it.
Value.
Intellectual property.
Yeah.
You have to defend it. And what Axanar has done has threatened that ownership. It is blatantly infringed upon it and said, hey, we are going to do Star Trek, but better, without permission, without any kind of license, and ignoring every time CBS has said, hey, curtail this before we take legal action.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
So they haven't filmed anything other than that Spock, that Vulcan scene, right?
That's correct.
That's
for
true.
Actually, about a third to a half. There's conflicting reports about it. About a third to half of the space battle scenes that were being done by Tobias Richter have been completed. So
but they haven't been released.
No, they haven't been released, but they're completed, and they have been. They were subpoenaed by the studios. So I don't know what was turned over, how much was turned over, but I do know that they subpoenaed that footage. And Rob Burnett made a comment a few days ago saying that he had in fact turned over footage, some kind of reel to CBS and Paramount's lawyers. He didn't, by the way, turn over emails, texts, and social media postings by him about Axanar, which that's a very dangerous thing to have done. But he, by the way, was represented at his deposition also by Erin Ranahan, the lawyer for Axanar, which
wasn't
is
a girl?
Her name's Erin Ranahan.
I'm sorry.
But the thing that's weird about it is you can make. There's a huge potential conflict of interest there because you can make the case that Rob Burnett, as the director of Axanar, has a different set of interests than Alec Peters does as the producer of Axanar. So if you're going to represent Alec Peters, that may put you in a place where representing him puts you in a conflict of interest with the interests held by Rob Burnett. Now, we don't know that that's what happened, but that's the kind of thing that lawyers really aren't supposed to do.
Carlos, I mean, I think the last time we talked we were concerned, or somebody was, about how it would affect other people's, how they did their stories and so forth. Have CBS shown any signs of going after anybody else, or is they just going after the Axanar?
Pretty much Axanar, right?
Yeah, they're sticking with just Alec Peters and just Axanar Productions, which I think is smart because Alec Peters likes to make this claim that CBS is suing the fans, and they're not suing the fans. They are suing one guy and his company, Alec Peters, and I think that it's in the studio's interest to try to keep that narrow. Keep the number of people that are actually bringing the suit against as small as possible. Now, there's always the possibility that as a result of discovery, they may find other people whom they could add as parties to the lawsuit. And that's why this whole notion of Erin Ranahan, Alec's attorney, also representing other people who could conceivably still be named as defendants themselves is really hinky. Now, it's not illegal as long as she discloses this to people like Rob. And we now know that she, in fact, has ended up representing Rob Burnett at his deposition. She's represented Diana Kingsbury, the fulfillment director, and also I think she's an associate producer of Axanar, and Alec Peters' former girlfriend. And she's also represented who else? Bill Hunt, who was the co-writer that August 2015 version of the Axanar script, in addition to Alec himself. So,
the one before Robert Myers Burnett took over?
No, Robert Burnett is not actually credited as a screenwriter.
Oh, I thought he did.
No, he's not. He's credited as director. He's had something to do with the script, but the two people whose names are on it right now are Alec Peters and Bill Hunt.
Okay.
So anyway, she did disclose to them that, she is representing Alec Peters and that there is the potential for conflict of interest, but I'm offering my services to you for free for at least this deposition. And so those folks took her up on the offer because she was free.
Yeah,
and I guess they didn't think that they were necessarily in any potential danger for an actual conflict of interest to occur. But you don't know that. There's always a risk, and so that's why Kristen Gossett turned down the offer. We know that she offered to Kristen Gossett to have to represent him at his deposition, and I think now that we've seen what Kristen Gossett brought to that deposition, why he might have turned her down. And she also offered to represent Terry McIntosh, who's Axanar's former chief technologist. He initially
go ahead.
Well, he initially took her up on the deal, and then turned her down once people were like, "What are you thinking? What are you doing?" And he, I guess, talked to his own lawyer, who said, "This may not be a good idea. So, I'm going to be there with you." So he ended up saying no to her. So that means we know of at least 5 people whom she went to offer to represent them at the depositions.
And Magnum, you were going to say something.
Oh, I posted it in the chat, but
yeah, go ahead.
Just a follow up on Ross's point on how much Star Trek is worth. CNBC's on the money. That TV show took they went to investigate. They predicted it's worth about $4 billion for Paramount.
Which is
just Paramount, not CBS.
Was it just Paramount, not CBS? I love how we both
It
asked
says
the same
for
question.
Paramount. That's all it says. So I'm assuming it's just for Paramount.
Yeah, it makes sense though.
And they're a derivative licensee.
Yeah, that's the thing that's really interesting. If it's only $4 billion for Paramount, that means just the movies. CBS actually holds the rights to almost everything that's Star Trek except the movies. So that means
maybe another $4 billion for that too. Then,
well, it would be probably more because it's a lot more. They own a lot more intellectual property than Paramount does.
That's true, but if you think about it, Lucasfilm, right? The
rumor going around right now is that CBS is looking to buy Paramount.
Oh. Well, that's not exactly right. What the rumor is that the company that owns both of them as separate companies, which is owned by Sumner Redstone, I think it's called National Amusements, it owns Viacom and it owns CBS as 2 separate entities. And what they're talking about is potentially recombining them the way that they were 10 years ago or so into one company now. Because Paramount, of course, is not doing so great financially, whereas CBS is going great guns. So they're hoping that they can strengthen Paramount by recombining it with CBS again. But whether that happens or not, we don't know. But that's the rumor.
It makes sense.
So it's not really a purchase. It's
right.
It's the company that owns them both combining them.
Kind of makes sense though, if you think about it, because The Big Bang Theory is a huge win on CBS. We have yet to see. Okay, so obviously CBS gave up Supergirl, and they're going over to CW, which we talked about earlier. However, the future is that the fact that not only is Star Trek Discovery, right? It's going to become that big thing that they're waiting to see what happens.
Yeah, just a note on Supergirl, because it gets a little, all the corporate dealings are a little fuzzy. CBS didn't give up Supergirl.
Oh, I know.
CBS, the network, is separate from CBS Studios, which produces Supergirl, and which sells content to CBS the studio and also the CW. The CW is also owned by the same people. So it's really not like one gave it away to the other. It's just more like it was shifted around amongst the companies that are all associated with each other. And frankly, because it made more sense economically, because Supergirl appeals to a very specific set of demographics that's different from the big broadcast network of CBS. And so for them to get the kind of slot that they had on CBS, the network, they needed bigger numbers than Supergirl was getting. But moving the show over to the CW, which has a very targeted demographic that makes a lot of money, especially with the numbers that Supergirl was getting, made it a lot more profitable for them. So of course they moved it over there.
Thank you for your insight on everything going on with Axanar, Carlos. So, I'm going to, before we end the show, we have about 20 minutes that we can talk about some stuff. And Carlos, you're absolutely probably going to be able to help us talk about, what we're about to talk about. Ross, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., dude.
So I haven't been able to watch the episode yet. For some reason, it's being delayed. Its release.
Oh, you didn't watch this week? Oh,
they're delaying its release on Google Play, so I haven't seen it yet. But I've been looking up some of the coverage, and there was a really big reveal this week. Apparently, the latest episode is Robbie Reyes' origin story, talking about how he became the Ghost Rider, where he got his powers from, and apparently he got them from another Ghost Rider.
Yep, he did.
And this
the guy
one
we
drove
talked about
up
him last guy, the guy with the motorcycle.
On a motorcycle.
Because he came up. Robbie Ray got ejected from the car, and as he was falling, he was praying and so forth. Hey, let me do this. He died. The guy on the motorcycle, we don't see his, just see his legs walk up. Then he leans over Robbie. Then you get to look at his face as he's leaning over him. So you get the picture from Robbie's view as he wakes up and he sees this guy with a flaming skull. That's freaking awesome.
So there have been 2 Ghost Riders who rode motorcycles, but of course we all want it to be
Johnny Blaze. Yeah, Johnny Blaze, and then Robbie Reyes is the car dude.
Yes, but there was one other motorcycle riding Ghost Rider.
I gotta ask Carlos. Have you been watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
I have to say no. They lost me after the first season.
I agree. I understand where you're coming from. But
I understand it's gotten better. I just haven't circled back to it.
Carlos, if you get a chance, this season, you don't have to watch all at once. This season, Ghost Rider is awesome.
Yes, it has.
I'm willing to give it a chance, although I was never a Ghost Rider fan in the comics.
No, you like this guy. This guy
is he cool?
I mean, they think he's inhuman. They don't believe that he's got his powers from the devil. They want to believe in science. And I'm like, no, this is all about magic. This is all about
it doesn't have Nicolas Cage in it, so it's a lot better.
Yeah, it's this Ghost Rider is great.
Nicolas Cage in it. I like that. That's cool.
Yeah, this Ghost Rider is great. I like
Well, this whole season, it looks like they're setting up the whole supernatural side, not only with the introduction of Ghost Rider, but also with the book The Darkhold, which we talked about last week.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
Are you familiar with that, Carlos?
Vaguely. That is
long story short, it is the source of all supernatural evil in the Marvel Universe. It spawned the vampires, werewolves, you name it. It has a hand in its creation.
Now, I will be honest with you. Carlos sounds like me. He sounds like more of a DC fan.
Well, I started out as a DC fan, but I started reading Marvel comics in 1980. So it's it's been a long time. But but I've fallen off of a lot of comics reading in the last 15, 20 years. I pick up enough every now and then.
I will give you a pass. Okay, thanks.
So I know a lot of old school stuff, not a lot of the new school stuff. If it's super big in the Marvel universe, I usually seek out, like Civil War. I read the Civil War comics. Things like so big events. I keep track of those, and of course, every now and then, every few months, I pick up an X-Men because I've always loved the X-Men.
All right, so we'll keep carrying on with what you were talking about.
Well, for me, I mean, this whole season is. I mean, I agree with Carlos and George. The previous season, I did lose it when they went to the Inhumans, especially in the third season, because I was like. They had that whole guy on another planet. They had to bring him back, and I just and they kept on bringing that guy they had from the first season, who's now a bad guy. I didn't get it. It was boring. Like George said, he doesn't like the actress who plays the main, the Quake. So
actually, I like her now. Remember?
Well, okay, but you didn't like her before.
I didn't.
You didn't like it that they was focused on her when it should have been focused on some of the other characters.
She grew on me.
This season she is, because she's not part of Shield. She's on her own. She's doing her own stuff. She's actually a fugitive. She's wanted.
She's actually kind of a counterpoint to Ghost Rider. They're very similar.
Yeah, yes, they are.
Good analogy. Yep.
But the thing to me is the way that because Ghost Rider to me seems to be the key for this one. He's in every episode, like Ross has said. They focus on him because to me that's what brings me in. Because this guy, the way that they've done the Ghost Rider, even the CGI is fantastic. They've got the flaming metal chain. They've got his flaming car. They got him just, I mean, it's great. And he's like, what the last episode, they were breaking somebody out of prison. And Robbie, he was supposed to be escorting his cousin or his uncle out of prison to safety. He couldn't resist killing this one guy from this gang who knew he just couldn't resist it. He couldn't overcome the Ghost Rider in him to escort his uncle out. So his uncle escapes, and then this episode we find out he's his uncle anyway. He was the bad guy. He's the bad guy that set it up. I'm like, if he had just done it, if he had just resisted the Ghost Rider, they would have had him in custody in S.H.I.E.L.D. because he wouldn't have had the rest of the season. But I mean, it's like, it just shows you: is he in control? Is he not in control? What's going to happen when he gets out of control?
Sometimes he is, sometimes he isn't.
Right. I mean,
but that's the thing with that situation. That's that gangster. His gang was responsible for putting his brother in the wheelchair.
Right.
That's a good point.
So this wasn't just another gangster. This was deeply, deeply personal. Everyone from that gang he wiped out.
But then you said when he's confronting him, he's getting, that wasn't me. I didn't do that.
No, he was the guy behind it. Right.
But I mean, he said, yeah, you contributed to it, so he killed him anyway. But he didn't give the order. He said that was somebody else gave the order. Somebody had usurped his power in the gang, even though he was part of the gang. He just killed him anyway.
Well,
I mean, to me, it's like, is he in control? And that's the tantalizing aspect of this.
Yes, exactly.
Because otherwise, you say, these Inhumans are in control and so on. Did you see? The head of S.H.I.E.L.D. got his ass kicked. Right? This guy's supposed to be inhuman.
Well, hold
you saw
on.
May kicking his.
There's
kicking
a difference, though.
Him.
But remember, remember the director. Well, not the director, but they keep getting.
He didn't get his ass kicked. He kicked May's ass.
Yeah,
no.
Remember,
she punched him, and he barely flinched. It was like punching Superman.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
Did he turn his head so that she wouldn't break her hand?
Yes.
No,
yes.
But in this episode, Ghost Rider escapes from that containment and then kicks the S.H.I.E.L.D. the director's ass.
But
he beats him down. He beats him down.
But remember,
you have to.
One of the things.
You gotta see it, man. Oh my
god!
Yeah, I'm waiting for it to come out on Google Play.
Oh, come on!
Oh,
but
God,
listen. One of the things that is the consistent thing, okay, is do we kill somebody, right?
That's the thing again. Like you said, Joe. I mean, we don't know. I mean, this is the great part of this is they can go either way with this.
This has always been the thing about superheroes. And Carlos, you know what I'm saying? Like it goes back to the Legion of Superheroes. It goes back to Superman. This is why Man of Steel got so much controversy when the dude broke his neck. You know what I'm saying? It's
yeah.
Yeah, it's like superheroes don't kill. We do everything we can to do everything but kill. If we have a villain, we stop them short of killing them. Okay? When you cross that line, universally. It's like, what could I have done to stop him without killing him? Unfortunately, the comics in the past have been like all goody-goody, like, I'm just going to punch them and I'm going to punch them in the face. Punch them in the face and throw them in the Phantom Zone or do whatever. Unfortunately, you know what I'm saying? It's not always the answer. That's what I'm saying.
I agree. And, maybe we're just old fogies because that's one of the things that I always thought was the most important about superheroes was the not killing part.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we live in an age now where people are okay with that if it's in the right cause. I think that's kind of too bad, but I don't hear a lot of people complain. Like, even you watch Legends of Tomorrow. Look at how some of these people just kill people, and
I would disagree with that in one aspect. I think the traditionalists like Superman and Captain America, we don't want them to see them killing people.
Well, we don't want to
when you got
address
like
it.
Blade
Cap
and,
absolutely killed people.
Well,
in World War II.
of course he did, but Superman didn't, and Batman didn't. Right?
Yes, he did.
You don't want to see those guys. You don't want to see those guys killing you.
You're wrong. Hold on.
But this is the persona of these characters.
All right.
Right? They don't want to see those. But then you get newer characters from the 80s, Blade, and these other ones like Ghost Rider. These are the ones that you can okay, well, we can understand them killing people because they're a little demonic, right? They've got a little evil in them. So
I will give you that.
Yeah.
And I'll be fair here. I mean, I don't expect that to be true of every single character in comics, for sure. But there are certain ones, and they're really ones that we look up to, as opposed to thinking, oh, that's a great character. And, the ones that we think of as more like, I would want to be that character, are the ones that I have problems if they kill.
Yeah. It's really funny because if you think about it, we all embrace certain heroes, and we want them to be like the cornerstone. I guess I would say cornerstone. Is that, we want them to be our ideal. Okay, we want them to be our representative of. If I want to hurt somebody hurts me, somebody does something wrong to me, what do I do? So you want to turn your head, and you want to say, what is my example? Okay. Unfortunately, Batman, as awesome as he is, has had different representations. Okay. Superman has had different representations. So, who is the character we turn to? Moon Knight? You know what I'm saying? Well, wink, 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 wink.
I think it's important to have multiple kinds of heroes. You need the paragons, the people who aren't going to kill, who aren't going to do the brutal things that other heroes do. But it's okay to have those kinds of brutal, I do what I have to do, I do what needs to be done kind of heroes to balance each other. It makes good storytelling.
Yeah, that's why Netflix is so popular.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I like flawed heroes.
Yes.
That's why. I mean, I enjoyed. I've enjoyed the Marvel series on Netflix, all of them. They're gritty but still kind of hopeful in a cool way, which is hard to pull off. So yeah, for sure.
There's a reason why Hugh Jackman keeps coming back to play Wolverine.
Yeah.
For money.
Well, money too.
Sick.
Well, come on. These guys are just doing it for the money at that point. I mean, they're getting paid $20-25 million. Hey, do it for a couple of months, 6 months, or whatever it is. Easy.
And there's a reason Deadpool performed so well.
Yes.
And they did that very well. It was well written and well acted.
Deadpool was awesome.
I know.
Yes, it was.
They did it perfectly. I mean, they did that perfectly.
So, I want to thank you guys for joining me. I totally and completely love all of you. And, for these 2 hours... No. But for these... I'm not. For these last 2 hours, I appreciate my friends that come on here and talk to me. And I want to thank you guys for joining me. Carlos, thank you. And
always a pleasure.
Thank you very much. So, where can people find you on social media, Carlos?
Best place is on my website, which is axamonitor.com, and on Twitter at Axamonitor. My personal Twitter is at @cpedraza, and of course I'm on Facebook all the time, also cpedraza, and in the CBS versus Axanar Facebook page.
Awesome. Anthony, what about you?
You can follow me on Twitter at Anthony Barrows.
All right. What about you, Will?
On Twitter at Intrinsicus. That's Intrinsic with a US on the end.
All right. And you, Ross?
You can find me at www.iliveloveplay.com. Super Geeks is a Live Love Play podcast produced in association with Busy Little Beaver Productions.
It is. And you can follow me on Chooch99A if you wish to. And I want to thank you everybody for joining us tonight. And so this was Super Geeks episode 36. Thank you for joining us, and we'll follow you next time.